You know Matt Mullenweg, he's the founder of WordPress. 10% of every website in the world was on WordPress. Now it's far bigger. And he was worth $250 million at the time. Now he's a billionaire. We go to Vietnam for like 9 days, and Matt's there, and I got to know Matt. He's a cool dude. So I invite him into one of my Necker Island trips. We're sitting there with all these marketers, and they're internet marketers. All these marketers are talking about opt-in pages. Matt Mullenweg, founder of WordPress, leans in and he's like, you guys are saying opt-in page. What is an opt-in page? And they all look at him like he's an idiot. They're like, how do you know, like, how do you not know what an opt-in page is? And something clicked in my mind at that point, like, he doesn't need to be the king or the queen. He just needs to be the chessboard.
You know, I listened to Grant Cardone once say he was all wrong by listening to Millionaires.
My millionaire uncle had too much of an influence for too long over my life. I should have been watching what the billionaires do. They don't operate like millionaires.
How do they operate differently?
They throw down. They don't worry about quarters. The millionaires are worried about quarters. I know people worth $4 and $5 million. They're total misers. They're as bad off as the freaking guy on the street corner.
He goes, when I started hanging out with billionaires, I realized they don't work hard. Millionaires get up early, they go in cold plunges, they have these rituals, and they do amazing things. But billionaires, they know who to call at the right place, right time. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, you know billionaires, you know really successful millionaires, but it seems like the billionaires have really focused on delegating more.
Absolutely. Look, for the knowledge that I have, and I will openly say, one of my biggest limitations is the ability to hire and attract talent that I can delegate to and being able to let go. I mean, there's a part of me that if you're a perfectionist, you oftentimes have a hard time to delegate. So I'll tell you a couple stories to that. So I became Richard Branson's largest fundraiser, and I've interviewed Richard, I mean, hours and hours of interviews with Richard.
Joe has a wonderful knack of pulling people together, throwing them in a pot, stirring them up, and fantastic things can come from it. You know, I've had the privilege of meeting a lot of the people he's thrown in that pot, and I've had the privilege of doing wonderful things with those people.
Because I used to do trips to Necker Island, and we'd be there for like a week, and we'd have mostly breakfast, lunch, and dinner with Richard every day for like a week straight, because I packaged up Richard, because he's like Shamu the whale. You know, you go to SeaWorld to see Shamu. And so, you know, I'd package up Richard and showed them a way to monetize his island, Necker Island. And when I first started doing these trips, it's now more than 2.5 times the price to rent that island, simply because of how I showed them how to package it up. They've made millions as a result of what I started with them. And out of all the conversations I ever had with Richard, the one that was probably the most valuable that I could share a lesson of is just me and him were in his kitchen in one of the houses on Necker. And I was looking for like an orange or a banana. And we're sitting in there, and I'm like, so, you know, Richard, when's the last time you were in a grocery store? And he's like, he looks up like he's thinking, he's like, I've never been in a grocery store. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, what do you mean, you know, been in a grocery store? He's like, I don't think I go, what about when he signed the Sex Pistols? I go, did you ever go get beer for Sid Vicious or Johnny Rotten, which are, you know, the members of the Sex Pistols? He's like, no, I don't think I've ever been in a grocery store. And I'm sitting there going, this is like the biggest, like, there's no way. That's what I'm thinking in my mind. I go, when's the last time you did your laundry? And he said, I don't think I've ever done laundry. And I go, what do you mean you've never done laundry? He goes, what about when you were a kid? He's like, my mom did my laundry. And I'm like, you've never done laundry? He goes, no. He goes, Joe, he goes, you hire people to do that stuff. And he said, one good hire will save you thousands of hours in your life. And, you know, because Richard, people love watching. I've done a couple of interviews I've made public. Most of them were for people that came on the trips, because we would charge literally $40,000 to $75,000 to go on those trips. And they were very exclusive. And that's when we first started doing the super high-end stuff. But, you know, people watch the interview and they get all gaga because, you know, it's Richard Branson, but he doesn't really explain a lot of stuff. People get all, you know, he's an intuitive entrepreneur, so it's hard for him to explain what he's doing. So there's that example. I'll tell you, if someone wants to get really great insight into super wealthy people and people that are really into regular self-help, and they watch these How to Get Rich gurus, which most of them are full of shit, because there's people that are reporters of success and then there's people that are actually successful, is read the book How to Get Rich by Felix Dennis. He died, but he is super hardcore. I think he just really slams a lot of people that are promising people the moon when they're, you know, selling stuff.
I'm just curious, because getting in front of Jeff Bezos, getting in front of, you could go on the list, it's hundreds if not thousands of people now. What is it that really clicked? When was the first time you figured out that's how? Alex Hormozi said, don't ask me what you can do for me. People always say, what do I got to do to, hang out and learn from you? Just do it. Like you just said, I figured out a way to solve Richard's problems. I did the business plan. I made him a ton of money. Therefore, he gave you the time.
I don't know if I talk about this a lot. So you gave me the impetus, though. It's a good distinction. So people constantly come to me and they don't really kind of understand what I think I do a pretty good job of writing about in my book, What's in It for Them, where I literally go through the process of how to connect with people authentically, not using fake flattery. I mean, flattery works. I'd be lying if I would say flattery doesn't work. Enthusiasm covers many deficiencies. However, having some substance to what you're doing is valuable. People often come to me and say, how can I help you? And when you're so damn busy, you don't even know what you need help with because there's like 100 things. And oftentimes what they're doing is they're putting work on you. It's like reverse delegation. When you hire people to do work for you and then they bring more work to you. That's like the worst. Just doing it, what you said is important. So you don't build a great reputation by talking about what you're going to do. You build a great reputation by actually doing it. Being able to anticipate, being able to understand what someone's value system is, being able to focus on like what Dan Sullivan, we've done episodes on this. What are their dangers? What are their opportunities? And what are their strengths? So having a DOS conversation where you can ask the R factor question, which is if we were to meet, a year from today, 3 years from today, what needs to happen both personally and professionally for you to feel happy with your progress? If you ask people, if you utilize Socratic selling in order to identify what people are interested in, what they want is really valuable. Before the internet existed, Harvey Mackay, who's now 90 years old, just sent me a message yesterday. He wrote, how to swim with the sharks without being eaten alive. And he had a thing called Mackay 66, which you can do an internet search on. I write about in my book, the Mackay 66 method. It's gathering information about the person that you're wanting to align yourself with. So instead of saying, how can I help you? Find out what they would actually be helpful for them, start doing it, and impress the hell upon them that like, oh my God, you actually created value in advance. So